Instead of going to bad events, I learned how to host a good event. Instead of going to bad parties, I bring the party to me. One of the biggest mistakes I see from a new host is they start a party and they're worried about stopping the party to do a round of icebreakers. They're worried. They look around the room, Teevee, and they say, everything's going so well. You know, I finally hosted a party. My friends are talking. Why would I stop it? Why would I stop this party that's going so well? And what they don't understand is that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Teevee Show podcast. My name is Teevee, and on this podcast, I usually bring on people that are doing some amazing things, usually in the realm of personal development, financial, entrepreneurship, because those are interests that I find fascinating and that I'm always involved in. And I touch a lot on parenting, simply because as a father, I can't help but try to figure out how I can learn something and then pass it directly on to my daughters. Today, we have a fantastic guest. We have best-selling author Nick Fray, the author of The 2-Hour Cocktail Party. We're going to talk a bit about this book, and it's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to learn some things that we as adults just don't know. Having said that, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to another super host. You have so much experience with this stuff that I think we're going to get to talk about social dynamics and networking that could give listeners a lot of great value.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for context, besides starting to host this party, I had been hosting dance events for several years. And through that process of hosting those dance events here locally in Dallas, I learned a lot. And I was able, when I picked this book up, it actually gave me, it's kind of like a guide on how to do it at a smaller level. I've learned that I really like bringing people together, and I stopped hosting the dance parties. So these little parties became have become an integral part of my future plans because I just love bringing people together. So yes, absolutely, because there's so much to unpack there. Human dynamics is an interesting thing. So before we get started, I have one big question, and that is, how many marriages are you responsible for?
You know, I don't know if I'm actually responsible. I'm not sure.
Really?
I've definitely helped people meet. I went to an event last night and I linked up a couple because I heard one was single. And you know what I told her? I said, show me a picture of your ex-boyfriend right now. And she showed me. And it looked like my friend Jonathan, and I ran over. I said, Jonathan, are you single? And I ran over and I said, you guys have to meet because oh, wow. And I think it was a good meetup, actually. They were both really happy. They texted me like an hour later.
Like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. We're going to date.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a super connector, man.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. At my events that I've hosted in the past, I'm responsible for a handful. And the reason I ask that is inevitably, some people are just going to connect. And it's not just business-wise, right? Obviously, there's the networking and possibly working together in the near future, which you can speak to. What are some of the biggest payoffs for you as it relates to hosting these parties?
So I started to host parties when I moved to New York City. I didn't really know anybody. I wasn't an extrovert. I don't do well at big, loud events. But I learned that instead of going to bad events, I learned how to host a good event. Instead of going to bad parties, I'd bring the party to me.
That's fantastic.
And I built up a network, this huge network of acquaintances and loose connections that helped me launch my last business called Museum Hack, which turned into a multi-million-dollar company. I literally launched that off the back of all these connections I made at my parties. So I've seen some huge benefits.
It's beautiful. I was reading that in your bio, and I was just blown away. And I think this could work without a party, but it's just not as fun. You can go to stuffy business networking events, most of them anyways, not all of them, because I do attend a couple that are fantastic. But when you bring people together, like-minded individuals, magic happens. And you said it best. You hosted a really fun event that people could come to, and now you're the center. I don't want to say the center of attraction, but you are managing and hosting it. So obviously, the credibility goes through the roof for yourself.
You know exactly the benefit. Maybe we could kind of talk about that, but it is so different when you're the center, when you are the host. Everything changes, and it's a night and day experience of attending an event as an attendee versus being the host. And the benefits you get, we both can talk about how incredible those are. And the secret I found was by doing the cocktail party formula, this formula that I found for events, anyone can learn how to do that.
He's right. This formula is fantastic. I read another book around dinner parties. And I like hosting people. Let me rewind. I actually didn't like hosting people. But I became open to the idea. After COVID, I was thinking about hosting dinner parties to actually bring people together. I have incredible people that I have met over the last, say, 15 years of my life that I've been in business. And bringing them together to get to know each other and vibe off each other, maybe something beautiful can happen. And I was literally on the precipice of launching that kind of thing until I picked up your book. I listened to another podcast, which you were featured on, and I'm like, 2 hours, cocktail party. Picked it up, read it, went through it really fast, and you basically obliterated a handful of notions that I had in my mind and made it to where I could launch the party with your blueprint almost immediately. I literally was going to do certain things. I'm like, oh, hell, he says, don't do that. Threw it out. It saved me a ton of time, ton of effort, and you make it so easy in the book. It literally is almost copy paste to some extent what you should do and not do. And for that, I can verify that it is. I want to call it the Bible of throwing a small event, a cocktail party, or what I ended up calling it. What did I call it? I'll forget. Happy hour and cocktails.
Yes.
That's what I call it.
Yes, yeah, I like that. I like calling it a happy hour, calling it a cocktail party. I think you said it great. A cocktail party is easier to host and it's easier to say yes to. And that's the big thing I found, was that a dinner party took too much time, too much stress. And I was able to get about 80% of the benefits of a mastermind dinner with only 20% of the work of a cocktail party.
Yeah, it was a fantastic turnout. I will admit, I've only done 2. I think I had like 8 at both of them, and it wasn't as many. But honestly, I felt like it was like 20 people in the room. The energy in here was skyrocketed almost from the first Icebreaker. Yes. Which, by the way, everyone seems to hate. Well, not everyone. There are some people that hate them. I didn't realize how much of a stigma there was around Icebreakers. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a stigma around Icebreakers for good reason, because they're done usually the wrong way, in a way that makes people feel awkward, uncomfortable, or put on the spot. And the way that, if you remember from my book, I think that a good icebreaker is a fast icebreaker. At the beginning of the night, you need what I call a green level icebreaker. That's an easy one. My favorite one is just to ask people, what's your name? What do you do for work? And what's one of your favorite things to eat for breakfast? What's your go-to breakfast? Now that one works well, and why people should use it, because it doesn't put people on the spot. The icebreakers that I hate are say your name and 2 truths and a lie, or say your name and a fun fact about yourself. That can be kind of hard. And we have to remember that a lot of the people that we invite to come over might be introverts. They might have social anxiety. They don't thrive. A party full of extroverts, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know what that would be like.
That would be outlandish.
Yeah.
Nobody will allow the other person to talk. It's a lot of interruptions going on.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. You say something great there, and that's the reason that I think from your map, your roadmap for it, and that first question is key. I think it definitely allows that question, or simple questions like that, allow them to reveal something about themselves, which I end up kind of thinking of as hooks. Because we all can relate to each other if we take a moment to get to know each other. Like, we all have similar things. We're human beings residing in the world, living under the certain weather, which is also the reason why I think a lot of people tend to fall back to, hey, man, the weather really sucks, or it's really rainy, because we're all living under the same weather. We can relate to it. Your question allows us to share something of value. It seems invaluable, but what are you eating? What do you enjoy for breakfast? You say it in your book. If he's I don't eat breakfast. I fast. Oh, what does that say about you, right? I eat a hearty meal, like eggs, protein, and what does that say about you? And even if it's just simply like, me too. They come over, and then I see them like vibing off each other. It's the most insane thing to watch because you see energy just spiking in 3 or 4 corners of the room.
And that's the purpose of the Icebreaker, is a conversational crutch to give people the excuse to go say, hey,
I like that.
and go meet somebody new. And you're exactly right. You identified it, Teevee. The purpose of the Icebreaker, that first one, is it lets them express a little bit about their personality. And we do that breakfast Icebreaker at the beginning of a happy hour because there's no rapport built up. People are a little bit loose. They're a little stiff. And that's an easy, fast one that just gives them the conversational access point to hopefully go say hey to somebody new. Because for your listeners, that's the purpose of these parties. And that's the purpose why you'll be successful, why Teevee has had major wins from his life of hosting, is that you get to be seen as the hub. When you can help your friends make new friends, everybody benefits. It's win-win.
Yeah. I had 2 parties. I had about 8 in each. They all come in. It's usually the lay of the land. They come in. A couple of them might know each other. So they're in their corners talking to each other. And then once the Icebreaker kicks in, there's like at least 2-3 pockets of people are like that all of a sudden gravitate towards each other. And it's fascinating to watch because then you have me blow the whistle, which I love, by the way. I tell them at the beginning, like, I'm going to blow the whistle. I love you, but you need to shut the hell up.
Yes.
So we can move on with the party.
Yes, it's true.
So it's like a pattern interrupt because otherwise they're not going to stop. The conversations get to be so rich. And it's just the most interesting thing.
I think you said something interesting there, which is that it's not going to stop. And one of the biggest mistakes I see from a new host is they start a party and they're worried about stopping the party to do a round of Icebreakers. They're worried. They look around the room, Teevee, and they say, everything's going so well. You know, I finally hosted a party. My friends are talking. Why would I stop it? Why would I stop this party that's going so well? And what they don't understand is that, number one, the best conversations will reform. And so you as a host should not feel a sense of, oh, I don't want to interrupt them. They're at a cocktail party. If this conversation is so important, trust me, they will reform it afterwards. But number two, your role as the host is to serve the entire party. And the way that you do that is by helping people have as many new conversations as possible. So you really want to see movement within your room.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Because I think it also, depending on what's going on in the party, there may actually be some natural into it, but there's this internal conflict about whether I should just break or how do I break. Do I make the excuse that I got to go to the restroom, or that other person seemed intriguing, but I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to talk to this person. This allows for me to be the bad guy, quote unquote. Actually, in the last one, I had somebody say they were going to stuff the whistle up my butt. That was a little over the top, but it was. She was shocked me. She's an older lady. I'm like, damn, I didn't know you had that in you, but that's okay.
That's
You'll
hilarious.
love me for it.
That's
later.
fun though.
She said, I'm gonna stuff it up your ass.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That's a different type of party. You got to come to my other party.
Yeah, like I didn't know that's what I did not have that anticipated for this party, but okay. What's something else that came out of this for me, and I didn't think about it when I first started it, but it became evident after the first one, and that is this. I actually created a little reel, or because I thought about this but didn't connect it to this party and how it was going to benefit others. When you're children, when we were kids, we take for granted how easy it is to make friends. You literally walk over to some kid and say, "You want to play with me?" Or you punch them and you run, and now you're playing a game. Now that's like looked down upon in society as an adult. We can't do that. But also, we don't really learn how to make friends, yes. how to network, but actually just be friendly, go out, introduce yourself randomly to people. With this, it essentially is helping nurture that skill of looking out for people to invite, looking out for people to bring in, and then obviously hosting it. But that life skill that nobody, I never heard anyone say, okay, and this is how you make a friend, honey.
Yes.
But that right there is so useful. And that was another benefit of the party.
It's true. Do you notice when you are hosting your dance meetups or with these parties that once you have the party, you start to, I don't know, it just feels like you meet more people because you're like, oh, I will invite them to the party. You have this like friendship funnel that you just start collecting people into because now you have an easy invitation for them.
You have an excuse or a justification to get to know them better.
Yep.
There's a guy in the elevator that I'm dying to invite. I've had interesting little conversations here at my place. And I'm like, ooh, at the next party, I'm inviting this guy. Now you find reasons to want to meet more people.
Yes.
And it is the most fascinating thing that I notice about myself in hosting them. Like, I want to know them better.
Yes.
I want to introduce them to my friends.
Yes.
What are some things that you've heard from some of your other participants? Because I know you've had these conversations. You called me out of the blue. You said, "Hey, Teevee, you want to talk?"
It's true.
When you called me, I'm like, "Oh shit, the author's going to talk to me." Okay, you're the first author I've ever talked to that reached out to me. By the way.
Oh yeah, no, it's nice. Yeah. I like that you just grabbed the book and you took off. You went for it. You're someone who actually.
Well, you challenged me, just to say, like, I had to say that. You challenged me. You're like, here's the challenge. In 2 weeks, you should, or maybe 4 weeks. I forget what it was. Do it. And I'm like, okay, yes, sir.
It's true. It's true. You did it, though. We have, by the way, we haven't talked about our mutual friend. We have a mutual friend who has hosted as well. Have you been to one of his parties?
I have not. My girlfriend has. He's taken off with them. And he's one that... He's met his significant other. It wasn't through a party that he hosted, but it was through your mutual connection.
Right.
His significant other and him have become incredibly significant to each other through the virtue of what you've been doing and the work that you've been putting out there.
Yep. We're talking about Maddox, who runs a podcast as well, and they've really used that stuff. Anyhow, I hear great things, and I have a lot of stories from people. But the listener that I'm hoping to connect with that is maybe listening to this podcast now or watching us on video is someone who says, I don't think I need this book. You know, I don't host parties. This isn't for me. And
you're actually looking for that one. Okay.
Yes, I'm looking for that one because I'm trying to encourage a new generation of hosts. And many people may hear about your dance meetups that you were hosting and say, oh, I'm not a dancer. You know, that's not for me. But I think the cocktail party formula that I have found, which uses name tags, icebreakers, some structure, it tells you a minute-by-minute outline of what to do. I think almost anybody can do that. And I think you 100%. Can get big benefits from it. So that's my whole thing, is I'm crazy to try to convince people to say, look, these neighbors, the people you bump into in the elevator that you see, you walk around your neighborhood, you see them all the time, you say, oh, we should get coffee, we should get dinner. Put them into the cocktail party. So much easier.
Yeah, and then that's another thing. I've you reminded me. I have been trying to be a better friend in so many ways. So like I'm pushing 50, and I actually have a great network of friends and family. But I run into this thing where I don't have enough time in my week, because I also run a business, and I don't have enough time in the week to actually have dinner with each one of them.
Yes.
Right? And you said it right now. It's like I could sit there and invite all of them, and my calendar would be filled every single week trying to stay in touch with all of them. However, this allows you to host one party where you bring, I've seen some of your, in the Facebook group you have, like they're bringing in 20 or 30 people. Bring them in. And now you can have some form of connection with them, as opposed to try to meet every single one of them one-on-one. That's going to take you all year, and then you do it again. It just becomes overwhelming. This allows you to do it in such an easy, low-key, low-maintenance way. I have a bunch of stickers, the name tags.
Yes.
They think they're stupid when they walk in, but then later they realize, like, oh wait, that was very useful. Everyone thinks I'm kind of crazy, and they think, oh, by the way, they think I made this up, that I'm just a genius. And little do they know that there's actually a book that outlines it all.
But that's good. That's great. Some of my readers, I heard from this guy whose name is Tom. He lives in Houston, and Tom is a screenwriter. And he said, look, I'll be honest, I got social anxiety and I'm terrified. I'm an introvert. But your book gave me the permission to know exactly what to do. It gave me a job, and it told me exactly the guidelines of what was going to happen every minute of those 2 hours. And for some people that have never hosted before, they need someone to hold their hand and to show them. Now, there may be advanced people like you who are listening to this, and the point you just said really may resonate with them. How many people do you have in your life that are those acquaintance level connections that you could fill up your whole year with coffee meetings? But the reality is, by hosting a cocktail party, by having a happy hour, call it whatever you want, by the way,
Yeah.
in 2 hours, in the time it takes to watch a movie on Netflix, you can connect with 15 to 20 of those people and add value to help them meet new people. I mean, if there's not a better way to build your network, it seems win-win.
It is. I like I told you, I've been kind of sucking it up a little bit. I've only done 2. Business has gone crazy for me, and it's just now starting to settle down.
That's
and
great.
I want
The
to get
business
back
is
to it.
crushing, dude. Congratulations.
It is. It's kind of like the year we flipped calendar years, and all of a sudden, like I'm running and gunning, and I can't keep up with things. But I had made a commitment that I was going to do them every month, and I've fallen off. Having said that, though, people are asking, like, either to be invited because they saw the postings, or to come again. So that is invigorating. That is something I want to do. And on top of that, I stopped hosting the dance events at the beginning of the year, so I have more time to actually devote to this type of thing. I wanted to share, though, as in terms of the life skill, going back to that for a second, we don't learn how to become friends, how to seek out friendships. I've actually started to use this as a training tool for my daughters. My oldest one is 20. She came to the first one. She has a job, she has everything. She has things going well for her, but I want her to start developing this skill. So I invited her to the first one, and she met and she hit it off. It was a fantastic turnout, and she did well because she's my daughter. So we talk a lot. So it's not lack of conversational skills. It was just lack of being in this type of environment.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that with you.
That's pretty cool. Is she going to host one herself, or is she just using it to work on her networking skills like that?
Use it for networking skills right now. She's still working on trying to find her own place and that kind of thing. I anticipate that it will be something she does because she has that mindset that wants to develop and continue to grow her network. Second to that, though, is her boyfriend. I invited him to the second one. Now, for him, he's never been at anything like this, ever. So he's more of a to himself kind of individual. He's a musician on top of that, though. I wanted to share this with you because it was interesting. I met with him yesterday, and he told me, he said he wanted to start writing songs. And I don't know what happened in this group, by the way, in this particular one. But one of the things that was told to me, I was asked later, is like, do you handpick and curate your guests in such a way that that they will get to know, that they know that they match up on so many interests? I'm like, not really, just cool people. Because she said, everyone there matched some part of me. Everyone was magnificent and matched some personal desire or passion of mine. They also aligned. And for this young man, I don't know what happened, but he had told me that he wanted to start writing because he's a guitarist, but he wants to write and lyrics and whatnot. Yesterday he said that after my party, he started writing. He didn't do very well, but he's continued since then, and he's now like really, really growing that skill. So the payoffs, I guess the big point of the story is, we don't know what those payoffs are for those individuals. What spark is lit? It's just a beautiful thing.
Can you tell me?
When you bring people together.
What was your answer to him? Did you intentionally do that, or did it just happen?
It just happened.
Right. Yes.
I had creative people in the room. Like I had poet. I'm surrounded by. I'm in the spoken word poet circle. I'm familiar, so I brought a poet that I knew. I brought artists. I brought different just type of artists, and I think that may have been it.
Yeah.
But It's just bringing people in from my world, from the different pockets, that somehow something happened to him, and he's so happy and grateful for that. And he spoke more that day than he really has in a long time. He started to develop that skill for himself.
That's really cool. Somebody's been asking, it's a question I get a lot, is who do I invite to these parties? And my advice for most people is that for a new host, and this is counterintuitive, tell me if you agree with me, but I actually want them to have more people rather than less. I actually advise new hosts to have 15 people as a minimum. Maximum is 20. But the reason is that for a new host, it's actually easier with more people. And what I have found is that with a smaller group, like where you have 9 or 10 or 8, it actually requires a bit more work from you as the host to curate, and I don't want to say babysit, but you have to be a part of conversations. I have found that with 15 people, sometimes I need to recharge. I need to go in my bedroom and lay down and scroll social media to just take a breather. And I can't do that at smaller parties. What do you think about that?
That makes perfect sense, actually. I was shooting for 15 for both of them. It just worked out to 7. I think the second one, there was a cancellation. I had COVID, that's what it was. But I can completely see what you're talking about, because even with those 8, I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I want to nudge people along, or how y'all coming along, how are you doing? With 15, they're entertaining the hell out of each other. They're into each other's stories, or digging in, sharing, whatnot. So if having 3, I imagine if you have 5, like, you have to be a participant, and already hosting and managing and taking care of the little things, the drinks or whatever, it's going to be a little much. Breaking away, that happened several times. I remember just standing at the counter and watching, and being able to take that break that you just mentioned. So that is, I can see where that would be useful. I haven't experienced it, so I can't really say this or that, but I can see why that would be beneficial.
Something else I hear from people that is a fear or a thing. Okay, number one fear from people is that they are worried that nobody will show up. It's the number one fear of a new host. It's why most people don't host. They're afraid nobody will show up. They're afraid that they'll be rejected from the invitations. As someone yourself who's invited people to a lot of events, whether it's this style party or other stuff, could you talk a little bit about how you would help them think through that concern or fear?
Absolutely. So I didn't realize it until you made that comment. My dance events, people say they're interested, but it's on Facebook or wherever, and that is more than anything I've learned, that's more of like a bookmark. It doesn't mean that they're actually coming. It's an interested. Yeah, that sounds interesting. So I've had events where like 200 or 300 people say they're interested to my dance parties. So out of that, maybe 1/3 of them show up. So it's very hopeful, and you have no idea. This is much more personal. The likelihood of them showing up becomes much higher. I say it's probably 80 to 90% because it's one-on-one. They're either talking to you through text or email or message. It's a personal connection, and they've actually gone out of their way to RSVP. In your book, I think you line up certain comments or ways to describe the event that I think there's a bigger buy-in. That if they actually do RSVP, they'll be here. Outside of some circumstances, and it happens, and that did happen actually. That's why we went from like 12 to 8, which is fine. But nobody showing up, that I find virtually impossible in this type of party.
Yeah,
I don't.
Plus, we use that idea through my book of what's called the double opt-in invitation. Okay. A lot of super hosts tell me, "Oh wow, I'm going to use this for all my events." The old way of inviting is, okay, I'm going to do a party on this night, and now I'm going to spray the invitations and pray that people show up. Spray and pray. That's not a good way because it doesn't work, and it's a lot more stress. The better way is to do what I call the double opt-in invitation, and that's sending a message for your first 5 people, the group that I call your core group.
That's right.
those first 5, you're going to say, hey, I'm thinking about hosting a happy hour on Tuesday night, May 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. at my apartment. If I do it, would you come? Okay. And you want to get 5 of those yeses first. And you ask your close friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, people you feel comfortable with, being a little vulnerable to say that. Once you get those 5, now you have them RSVP. You create an RSVP page on a free event platform. And that is your core group that gives you the confidence. What do you think about that, Teevee?
I love that because I can piggyback that into what I do with my events. So not only did I host the event, but I'm also a marketer. So I'm also study psychology and understand the principle of the hive mind and social proof. I make it a point when I'm hosting my dance events to try to get to 100 people interested. Yeah, of those, maybe 30 or 40 show up if we're lucky. But if I show that I have 100 people interested as the promotion, I run ads to these events. That's how big I go on these things. Yeah, like this is not like, oh, hope and pray. I'm a marketer. I don't hope for anything other than I put money behind it. So that 50 minimum 100 would be ideal. When I keep pushing it out, or if people share it organically, they look at how many people are interested because nobody wants to go to a party where they're the only ones, much less a dance event. So that same principle there is what you described, and when I forgot about that. When I read that, that made perfect sense. Because you want to show the next batch, I forget what you call that, the next group of people outside of your core group, like, look, you're not coming to a party where you're the only one. There's already a handful of people that have RSVP'd as public, and they feel more inclined to say, okay, I'll do that. That seems of benefit and of value to me. And then the likelihood of them actually opting in is much higher. Usually the people that I ask will, if their calendar is free, say yes because of those initial 5 or 6 people. So I thought that was a genius. Like there were so many times I was reading this book and I'm like, oh my God, that's genius.
Really?
I'm doing that.
Dude, thank
Yes.
you so much. That means a lot to me because you get it too. You understand how it works. And so that means a lot that somebody like you who has those advanced social skills, who's hosted a lot of events, still found value in it. Because sometimes I'm
100%.
self-conscious. I worry, this is really for beginners. This isn't for people. But it's nice to hear from you. So that's nice.
I think one of the things you do really well is you've diluted a really difficult concept. Like throwing a party, that can be pretty involved. But you dilute it and you include so many like tips, explanations, and simplify it in such a way that even for me, I'm like, oh man, I've been overcomplicating that thing right there. So although it may be simple to me, it was like incredibly beneficial and saved me hours that I would have wasted trying to spray and pray, like, because this is more of an intimate kind of thing. So I can definitely tell you that I found incredible value. And yes, I've literally in 4 years, I've hosted over 100 events.
Oh my God, my mouth is wide. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. My first one, and like I said, I promote it. I didn't want to throw an event and have 10 people show up. So the first one I had like 20 or 30. And then we averaged 50 for a while. And then by the end, I was trying to push closer to 80 to 100. I had to learn to MC. I had to learn to manage the room. And so a lot of the things that you talk about in the book in terms of just moving people along, encouraging them to do this, making announcements, blah, blah, blah. I've learned through like a lot of reps. And I used to stutter so bad on the mic, but you only learn through the reps. So when I came to this book, you really, really made it easy for me to continue doing this, especially now that I've given those up. And I still found them useful. So that's a long-winded way of saying no. You don't feel insecure. Trust me, I found the information very useful. And anybody can, even if they just start out.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So my next question to you is, what's next? You no longer have the museum. Was it the hack? I forget what you called it. The museum hack.
Museum hack. That was my last business.
Yes.
Renegade Museum Tours.
What are you doing these days to take up your time besides touring the world?
So now I'm focused on these parties. My goal is to get 500 people like you to read my book and host a party using my method. And so I spend all day trying to preach that gospel of the benefits of hosting a gathering, because I really do think that there's something of a loneliness epidemic that people are talking about, that as we get older, I read a statistic that said 19% of American men don't have a close friend. They don't have a single close friend. And so, trying to get people to host parties, I said, look, I'm going to dedicate a solid year of my life after the book launch to trying to promote it and get the word out. And then as a self-published author, this is my full-time job, is sharing my book. There's nobody out there that's talking about my book if it's not me. And so that's what I love to do, and I truly love it. It is the most fulfilling, great work I've done.
That's fascinating. I love that, and thank you for the book. I've obviously already written a 5-star review just here alone.
Yeah.
I find that I'm excited about what you're doing, because I know that even for me, I've never had an author reach out. I know in the book you say, hey, email me. So I did. And almost immediately you replied, and then even asked for a conversation on the phone. And I'm like, oh crap, babe, he wants to talk. This is crazy. But you gave me tips and advanced icebreakers and different things that you've learning. So it seems like being this master organizer, you're talking to so many people that are doing so many things. And I'm seeing some creative approaches, including Maddox. He's doing this, he's adding his spin to it and making it his own.
He is.
In a way that's really intriguing. But what types of other events are you seeing, or how are other people remixing your idea into a new thing? What other ideas are out there?
So I talked to a woman 2 days ago who's based in North Georgia, and she was hosting a birthday party. And she read my book. She happened to grab it just a couple days before her party. So a little bit late in the cycle, because I really want people to plan it from the beginning. But she said, oh, what can I use and do for this? Well, I said, the number one thing that most people forget to do at their own party is to take a group photo. And it sounds so simple and easy, but those memories are so great to have. And also, as someone who knows social psychology, you use those group photos later for social proof. When you host your next party, you use that picture to help invite and get other people to attend. You can probably know how that's going.
Yeah, I will say this, and I try to coach and mentor other event organizers, and I tell them, even if you're doing it on the cheap and you're trying not to spend too much, the single best thing that you can do is take a group photo.
Yes.
I learned this from another dance group, that when they first started, after every class, they would take a group photo, and they'd share it, they tag everyone, and then the social proof, and then everyone being able to tell the story. Yeah, I came to this party. It was fantastic. I had such a good time. Oh, really? I want to go. And then the next one is a little bigger, and the next one's a little bigger. Then now you have a dozen of those, and organically, the party becomes like self-sustaining. You got people wanting to be invited. It becomes an interesting thing, and that's the way it worked out for these dance people. Just doing that alone, like when you said that, like, see, I told you so. Group photos are everything, and then especially at something like this with social media, it's a no-brainer.
It's an easy little hack, right? And it's something small, and that's one of those things, again, that nobody teaches us how to do this. Nobody teaches you how to host an event, and so little things. I told her something else. I said, hey, look, for your birthday party, what time did you set it? And the reality is she only set a start time. She didn't set an end time, and as a result, she was going to have people show up hours late. I think she had it start at 5 o'clock. And I said, well, people really aren't going to know what time to show up. So I really suggest people, I say, you need to have a start time and an end time. And then if you want, it's an advanced move, but you can include a rough approximate agenda. Just give people an idea, and that helps encourage them to show up on time. And you don't have to stick to the agenda. I rarely do myself, but it gives people an idea of what will happen. And we find that with those introverts or anxious people, simply setting the expectations helps them be more successful at a social gathering.
100% agree. That's a topic that I think a lot about, is which setting expectations and managing expectations is massively important. Skill set in and of itself. I'm known for being a jerk when it comes to times, especially dance events, because people like to stay really late. And they will keep going and going. I'm like, y'all can stay. The venue's still running, but I'm out.
Yes.
Because I got to work in the morning. I got things to do. But you mentioned that in the book, and the need for that is very, very important. And I will add that on top of that, for the people that may come, they see that it's not an all-night thing. That it's not, you're not planning to go to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or midnight. They're usually older individuals that they have work in the morning. So being able to clearly define that it is 2 hours allows people to say, okay, I can commit to 2 hours. That's an easy commitment.
Yep.
Dragging them out is, and that's actually something that we could talk about here. It is the most interesting thing, and I think you talk about it in the book. Their connections are going to be so rich that getting them out, and this is the same thing at the dance event, like if I start turning lights off. I learned this when I was in the grocery business. It was a trick. You start turning lights off to tell people, like, we're 15 minutes from closing.
Yeah.
We're 10 minutes from giving them a countdown.
Yeah.
I would do that as well. 2 more songs and we're out. So for this event, it's the same thing. People just could not. I'm shoving them out of the door. All right, guys. Y'all can carry this on down the street. And sure enough, the last one we had, people, I got FaceTimes from someone, a friend of mine. He was here. I'm here with the gang, all 6 of them or 8 of them. We were having a good time. And like they literally could not get enough of each other then.
How nice is that? How nice is that?
It is beautiful. And to know that I helped facilitate that is the most fulfilling thing for me. It is absolutely beautiful and something that gives me joy.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. That's what it's about, right? Helping our friends to meet new people. That's why I'm so passionate about this. It's why I spend all my time on it, because I know that we're doing good. By getting people to host these parties, I know that they're good parties.
I'm curious to see how many people reach out to me after this.
Yeah.
This goes live.
Yes.
It should be fun, because I hope that more people, like people already said, like, I like this idea. How can I do it? And I was recommending your book.
Thank you.
Through the roof. So I still got to give the copies that you gave me because I haven't seen anybody recently.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure that those get out into their hands. Let me ask you one last question. I think you sent an email and you said that, I don't know if how you're approaching it, but that you've learned some things since publishing it that you wish you had included, or you're looking to revise, or maybe the revisions are in the emails that you're kind of as an addendum to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Could you share some of those?
Yes, I'll tell you some of those. So number 1 is my concept of the last icebreaker has slightly changed. And I believe that the last icebreaker at the party needs to be what I now refer to as a value additive icebreaker. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that everybody's answer should add value to the room. And you'll use one of those 3 questions that I have in the book. One of them is, what's a great piece of media that you've consumed recently? It could be a documentary you watched that you loved, a podcast like this that you listened to, a book that you read, something. It could even be a TV show you binge watched. But what's something that you like and you recommend? Another one I like is, what's one of your favorite purchases for $50 or $100 or less that you've made? It could be an object like a gadget in the kitchen, or it could be an experience like a nice massage or going roller skating at an adult skate night. I love those 2 questions because everybody's answers makes the room feel smarter. They get new ideas. And that last icebreaker, I want people to leave your party feeling smarter, feeling like they got great ideas and suggestions. And note again that people's answers do express their personality. They do give people an excuse. Oh my gosh, I love that show. Oh, that book is so good. It gives them something to connect with. But that concept of a value additive icebreaker is good. A bad example would be, let's all go around the circle, say your name, say what you do for work, and say how you know me, okay? Say how you got kind of connected to me. I think that's a bad example because people's answers don't add value to the room. They don't make the room feel... It's informational
at best.
Yes. It's just a data point, right?
Interesting. Okay. I love that.
So that's one thing.
Definitely.
The second thing is the book was written really for the beginner mindset, and that first icebreaker, a lot of people are getting confused when to run the first, because there's 3 rounds of icebreakers in the book that you're supposed to do. And many people about half the people are missing the first icebreaker. And so I'm still thinking through that, frankly. To be honest, I'm still thinking it through.
Thank you so much for writing this book.
Yeah, thank you.
It was one of my best purchases of last year. I buy a lot of books. Yours is the only one I finished reading. You make it easy to read. and useful. It's just useful to the common man. It doesn't matter what you do, what socioeconomic class you're in. We all need more friends. We all need to grow our network. And this makes it stupid easy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even describe how easy it can be. I will say my girlfriend insisted on creating like an entire little table full of snacks. Because she's a chef and she wants to make it look pretty. I'm like, okay, babe. We actually almost had an argument around that. He said, we don't need to do that. But it was her way to add value, and I love her for it. But that is unnecessary. You say it in the book. I've said it several times in terms of it can be really, really simple, and you don't need to be an extrovert. You don't need to have hosted 100 parties. For me, it was relatively easy to do. You may have never hosted a party and be an absolute introvert. This gives you an excuse, and it makes it easy to get to know people and become the center of it all. And beautiful things come out of it. I don't know if anybody's going to marry you necessarily. That's a whole nother level, but maybe.
Right. It's true. It's true.
I tell that to people. I met my girlfriend dancing, and I used to do it in my market. I'm like, we met dancing. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen for you, but maybe it's better than swiping.
It's true. Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. Oh, my Lord. Yes.
Right? So creating a party allows you to just more opportunities for, you name it, business, personal, life, and you grow as a human being. So having said that, Nick, where can people find you? Where can people find your book? Unless they know me, and I have a couple copies that I'm going to give away. Where can people connect with you? Share all your stuff. I'll make sure to include it in the show notes, but I would like for you to say that. Share that right now.
Yeah, please. The name of my book is The 2-Hour Cocktail Party, and you can find it on Amazon or anywhere that books are sold online. I recorded the Audible myself, and I'm really proud of it. So if you're someone who only listens to books, then check out the Audible. I do think it's real helpful to have the copy in your hand. It's meant to be like a workbook with checklists and diagrams and things like that. Yes, if you're watching the video, he's showing a great one now. I have a blog, and I've written some articles about how you can use this book to host a happy hour, a networking event, how to even use it for something like a clothing swap or even a baby shower. This formula can be applied to a lot of different types of events, and I'll include those links in the show notes for those other ideas and sort of pro tips. From my website, which we'll link in there, you can get a list of, I think, 17 things, like a checklist before your next gathering. You can download it on my website for free, so I'll link that. And then on social media, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and my name there is at Nick Gray News, NickGrayNews. I got a good friends newsletter. You got to check it out if you see me share about it.
I love his newsletter. It's actually really useful. I like the tone and the way you share random things that you're into and things you come across. Yours is one of the few that I read because I feel this is interesting. Maybe you're doing this on purpose. I don't know. I feel like you add value additive. Like I've learned something, and it's not necessarily something that you've written 100%, but something that you've come across that's useful. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome.
It's enjoyable. I always feel a little more informed. Having said that, once again, my name is Teevee. Oh, I forget where I'm at. I was going to say my podcast. I have a business podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to us on the TV. Where am I? The TV show podcast. I am so sorry. Thanks to Nick. Please follow him everywhere. Buy his book. Listen to the Audible. He's a fantastic human being. I'm glad. Thank you for your time, Nick. I really appreciate you. And your response when I offered this, asked you if you'd be interested, you said, yes, let's do it. An exclamation in all caps made me feel incredibly important. Thank you all for listening. Until the next episode. Bye-bye.